Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yasodanandan Brajachanaranyana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yasodanandana Brajachanaranyana Yasodanandana Brajachanaranyana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Mishnipat Paramhamsa Pravachakacharya Stotara Vishvimad Vankaiseshi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Nanda Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Anniversary installation of Shri Shri Radha-Govardhanadhari Ki Oh, glory is this symbol of devotees. Oh, glory is symbol of devotees. Oh, glory is this symbol of devotees. Oh, glory to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Oh, Premanand. So we'd like to welcome all the residents of New Govardhana, some of the people from the village, some of their guests, retreat guests, and some of our community members to this very, very auspicious day, the 46th Cake Festival installation ceremony of the Lordships. So this is a good time. I've compiled some photos of the history of New Govardhana from the inception in 1977. So history is always good to delve into because it gives us glimpses of the past and the mistakes we made in the past and our development. And as it said, that every picture tells a story. So we have a lot of pictures here, so maybe we'll just reflect on some pictures and we'll skip over other ones, and then we'll also give the general purpose of the farm and how it's evolved and how our strategies have been and what they will be in the future. So it's very exciting. So we'd like to start with the first presentation. I have two presentations. So this one's about the early days on New Govardhana, New Gala, Australia, farming community, key. So to begin with, we have this letter. Maybe you can blow it up there for us. Oh, there's our first sign. New Govardhana farming community was there for ages and ages and ages until the logs fell apart. All glories to that. So, so if you can blow the letter up. This is a very important letter that we're going to speak about. This is a letter from Srila Prabhupada in 1977. So somewhere in March or April, one Sababadi Das Adhikari or Sababadi Das went looking for some property, some land in the general area, and he come across this land here, the land that belonged to Mrs. Kelly. And after some negotiation and general marathon by all the devotees in the Australian yatra, we come up with a grand sum of $70,000, was it? To purchase this property. So after that, we sent a letter to Srila Prabhupada, and this was Srila Prabhupada's final year on this planet. So in 1977, on the 1st of May, Srila Prabhupada responded. So I'll read it out. My dear Hari Suri, please accept my blessings. I beg to thank you for your letter dated 20th of April, 1977. I am very much obliged to you for giving such a full report. May Krishna bless you and give you more and more intelligence how to manage everything very nicely in Australia and New Zealand. As you have recommended them, I accept Michael, Pepper and Jackie as my duly initiated disciples. Their new spiritual names are Michael Pepper, Sikipich Dari Das and Jackie Venu Dara Dasi. Now hold a fire sacrifice, and the new initiates should vow to always chant minimum 16 rounds daily and faithfully follow the four regular principles. I also accept a second initiation, Jai Shila Das, Vasusrestha Das. But there's a H instead of a U. That's all right. And an S missing. That's all right. Atita Guna Dasi and Bhadra Dasi. The sacred threads duly chanted on Gayatri mantra sheets for all of them. Oh, hang on. And Vasusrestha. Oh, hang on. Oh, okay. The sacred threads duly chanted on for Jai Shila Das and Vasusrestha Das, got my name spelt right there, are enclosed herewith, as are the Gayatri mantra sheets for all of them. After the fire sacrifice, they may be allowed to hear the Gayatri mantra from the tape in the right ear. Teach them to be good brahmanas, always remain internally pure by chanting Hare Krishna and externally by regular bathing. So I just want to make a comment on this here. So this is a letter that was transcribed by Srila Prabhupada late April. So Srila Prabhupada's health was failing, but at that point in time, he was still initiating disciples. So I was one of the very fortunate ones. And of course, Michael Pepper and Jackie Vainadara and Sikhi Peach, they actually got recommended. Srila Prabhupada gave them their name and he initiated them as his disciples, and I also was lucky enough to receive my second initiation, and this letter came through on the 1st of May. Subsequently, about 2 weeks later, Srila Prabhupada's health was failing badly, and the disciples spoke with Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, there are so many disciples that would take initiation from you at this point in time, but we are too afraid to actually introduce them to you and let you initiate them, because there is always some karma that is attached between the disciples and the spiritual master, and you may even become sicker again. So we're holding it off. What will we do? So Srila Prabhupada said, then you can initiate on my behalf. So there was Satsarup and Tamal Krishna Maharaj there, and another person, I can't remember who. And then Tamal Krishna said, you mean Ritvik initiation? Meaning on behalf, and he sort of regrets saying that word because it's a very contentious word, but yes, on my behalf. So that is very important, because as I show these photographs, we will show you an initiation ceremony for Govardhan Puj, where there was a big fire sacrifice ceremony, and so many disciples got initiated while Prabhupada was still on the planet, and they were the last ones that were initiated with Srila Prabhupada's disciple, because 3 days after Govardhan Puj, Srila Prabhupada left the planet, and then subsequently all the other disciples that came were the disciples of the other disciples. So that conversation came up a month later in June, when Satsarup Maharaj, tongue-in-cheek, very humbly said, Srila Prabhupada, what will happen when you leave the planet? What will we do with your disciples? And then Srila Prabhupada very clearly stated, then they will become the disciples of my disciples. So in other words, that he's initiating his, he said that 2 or 3 times very clearly, they are the disciples of my disciples. So the parampara continues on. So I just wanted to mention that. I'll just keep reading the letter. We're up to, yes, okay. So here's the big announcement. Yes, the name New Govardhan will be very appropriate for your farm. Regarding the idea of getting 36-inch Nimwood Gaur Nitai from Calcutta, that is very good, but never happened, as we know. Or if someone can carve them locally, that will also be very nice. Regarding the gentleman whom you have met who speaks so many languages, I'm not quite sure who it was, let him translate in any one of these languages, any of our books, and that would be great service. Very general instruction. You will be glad to know that I'm feeling a little recovered now, and every evening as I'm again able to do my translation work, so my only disease is that I have no appetite. Hoping to meet you all. You ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So this goes to tell us that Srila Prabhupada approved of our farm on New Govardhan, and he was encouraging us to, in another letter somewhere, encouraging us to build with natural materials, grow our own foodstuffs, and achieve sustainability. So that was epic letter. So moving on to the next slide, we'll just have a few photos of the early days. So when we got here, there was only one dwelling on the farm, and it's what we know now, what we call the Krishna pad, the lotus pod. Can you just load the first one up? There it is there. Lots of grass. There's the bus that actually came here for the first time. That was the sort of the messenger bus that carried all the devotees on it, and all the devotees in that bus became the residents of this new farm here. There's lots of green grass growing because there hadn't been any animals grazing, and there's probably a residue of some superphosphate put here. So on the other side, if you flick onto the other side, we just flick around with the photos there. So that was the early days there. We had this many devotees, and up the top there, that was the temple room there, and down the bottom was the brahmachari quarters. At one point in time, there were 25 brahmacharis resident at the bottom there, all sleeping on top of each other. And sometimes chaos ensued. There was one guy who was a bad sleepwalker, and he walked over the top of the other guy who was very trigger happy, and he thought we were under attack, and under attack, brahmacharis to the front, brahmacharis to the front. And there's only one light switch, and we're walking around trying to, find out what's going on. We're under attack. And he put his arm out, my arm, my arm, my arm. And then took him to hospital, put his arm back into place and went back to sleep. So we got a few other little ones here. We had some horses on the farm. There were about 3 or 4 horses, and when the leaders came, we'd ride the horse around the paddock, and the goody was a very prominent character with regard to the horses, because he used to be, the goody here, the goody, and over there, the goody. He was in the army, in the Yugoslavian army, and he used to look after the horses. I've got so many rabbit holes there, I've only got like a couple. But he was a private in the army, and he was at the horse stables there, and they were very, very clean. And so he had a bucket and a shovel, so whenever a horse lifted its tail, he was going to have a poo race, so he had to race under the horse and put the shovel under the horse, and then make sure it didn't hit the floor. So, but then he was, actually when he came to Australia, then he was a trainer for a jockey trainer for someone very prominent. And so he knew a lot about horses, and he was famous for standing on his head on the horse while the horse was standing still. He used to do that as we'd take some guests here from wherever, and he'd sort of show us some of his skills. And then, so we had horses for quite a while here. What else can we say? So here's a little sort of idea. So little idea of who everybody was here. As you can see, in 1977, because of the exuberant enthusiasm of Krishna consciousness, that a lot of young men and a lot of young ladies joined, and were so committed to distributing Srila Prabhupada's books that we didn't really think about Grihastha ashram or anything like that. So it was a whole lot of brahmacharis, as you can see here. Basically, although the photo is not very clear, most of these young lads are brahmacharis. I think this might have been a festival where quite a few guests are there, the book distributors. We used to have people who sell full sets of books, and maybe a Sydney temple would come up, and so we've got the brahmacharis here and the brahmacharinis over there. And it was a very, very spirited atmosphere. So that was probably very fitting, because the farm was very austere here. We used to have a shower in the morning, which we call the laser beam. Chamri's got a sort of like there. She was one of the grihastas that were here. There was only about 2 or 3 grihasta ladies here. It was very austere for them. She could tell you all about that later, because otherwise there are so many stories. So this just gives the glimpse of some early days. We'll just keep flicking through. I'll go on to the next slide, if you don't mind. The Go Puja Festival. So that was the, so we'd been living on this farm for like 6 months or something like that, so we decided to have a festival. So it was really appropriate. It was the New Govardhana, first Govardhana Puja, really. And I get to leave this one. That's for later. Okay, we'll talk about that one later. So could you get the one on the top left-hand corner? So Go Puja. Okay. So we had, I don't know how many cows we had in the beginning. Maybe a dozen, 10 or 12. I think that figure comes to mind. We got some. What are they, Frisians? Who's the cow expert? Jerseys. We have some jerseys here, and there's the cows and the calves. And we used to get quite abundant milk. There was a dairy over the old dairy over the other side of the hill, where they used to milk the cows. And as we can see, we were worshipping the cows, honouring the cows there. And then if you can slip over to the middle one. So this is what I was talking about. So this was the last big yajna to make disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Is that you, Krishna Kirtan? No, you weren't there. So there's beautiful shaved heads. And brahmacharis, so they all subsequently became Prabhupada disciples here. So that was the last of the ceremonies to make disciples of Srila Prabhupada, so they just snuck in by 3 days. So, quickly, yeah?
This is the festival. All the devotees had come from all around Australia. Melbourne, Sydney. Oh, sorry. The devotees had come from all over Australia, which was Melbourne, Sydney. And there would have been 65, 85 of us, and we thought that was so many devotees and so many people. And it was all to build up for the installation of Radha-Govardhanadhari, and it was absolutely ecstatic, wasn't it?
Was Radha-Govardhanadhari installed?
Oh, no, maybe later.
Later, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but this Govardhan Puja was...
Govardhan Puja, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it was. But this Govardhan Puja was absolutely
It was an incredible festival. Actually, it was called the Festival of the Sacred Cow. And we had this poster printed we put on literally every lamppost between here and Tweed Heads and here and Byron Bay. You couldn't miss it, right? I don't know if the posters ever came off there for a couple of years. So the cars were all parked along the road there. There were just like, well over 1,000 people there. We had 3 tents. We had 1 tent up here and a few others there. So in one of the tents in the bottom centre there, we had all the different functions there. Every night there was something there. If you could show some of the bottom slides there. Or maybe the top right-hand one. So we'll cover this one here. We had 3 plays, which were epic plays. And this was about 3 bikies. He was the Harley, so they made all these sounds. And then this guy had a Kawasaki, and this guy had a Honda Vespa, and we know who that was. That's Chamri's husband, Chitahari. And he come flying in on Vespa. So anyway, I don't know what the play was about, but it was very funny. Some of the people from Awullaba said, this is so funny, that they were splitting their sides laughing, you know. So we did 3. We did Big Soul, Little Soul. So every night there was something there, and on the bottom... just quickly, I don't want to go too long on this. There was a dancing competition. Oh, that's the whole yatra there. As you can see, it looks like heaps and heaps of people, but that's the whole, ISKCON yatra there that came for this festival. So there was about 70 in Australia at that point in time, 70 devotees. We could all fit in, like a place, like a big tent or somewhere like that. So in the middle there, we had this epic dancing competition. Slip over a bit, yeah. So you can see all the sweaty bodies there, and you're supposed to keep your hands up in the air, and I got disqualified because I didn't have my hands in the air. I was so disappointed. I really wanted to win that one. So it was a really beautiful festival, and then of course 3 days after that, we had the sad news that Srila Prabhupada passed away. So then, it was up to us to spread Prabhupada's mission and fulfill his prediction that he wanted farms and he wanted Varna Ashram. And so we embarked on the New Govardhana project. Next slide. We continued on with our New Govardhana project. So in the beginning, we began the infrastructure. There was some Lakshmi coming in. The bottom left-hand corner is the old dairy. Okay, so focus on this one. There's the old dairy there. Is that the old dairy? Is that right? That's where we used to milk the cows, and there was a really nice paddock there. We'd have our festivals.
That was also the Brahmatrini ashram.
Oh, okay. And
that was the women's. That was where us women lived.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
no electricity, no running water.
Okay. So next we have this one here. So we built 4 houses. Yeah, I mean, this is an epic. Every picture tells a story there. I mean, we didn't lose anybody. I don't know how, but, I could say, well, we lost 5 brahmacharis. They're buried up the top of the hill there, but 5 more come along. It's that Mahamantra up the top there, yeah. Very brave indeed, yeah. So if you just show the whole picture, what it was actually, this is the first 4 houses for the Grihastas there. So that's where Vishnujan lives right now. And below there's the next one, and there's a path in between, and then there's the third one there. There was 4 that built all together. So we started to develop the farm, I think, show it. Oh yeah, and then we had our dairy about 12 cows. And I know I was here for a month and we have abundant milk. I take 2 big buckets of milk back with me after breakfast, and then I'd boil it and make yogurt out of some of it, curd out of the other ones. And it all happened at the kitchen in the White House, what we call the White House. So on to the next slide, if you like. Next one. The next set. Oh, hang on. We had a bullet team there pretty early on. Not quite sure where, in the early 80s. And there's Raja Bhumi with the horse herding the cows. The horses came in handy there. There was no fences. On to the next one, if you don't mind. Oh, okay. Sawing wood, yeah. That's when he was fit and strong and healthy, and, young. He was a bricklayer by chance. That was our resident ute there, going through the mud. You can see it's the usual rain and sort of quaking through the mud. I don't know if it's stuck or not, but it might have been stuck. We have to pull out with our budget tractor. Where are we? Which one have we got? Farming festivals. Okay. I'll move on to, I'll just find where I'm. Infrastructure, farming and festivals. Oh, okay. So that's our tractor there. So you can see, I think we've got some. And there's the potatoes. So we had a potato patch there, harvesting potatoes. It's all sort of early days. If you could go over to the right-hand side, this is sort of a preparation for our Sunday feast. That's Hari Rama, the dog. And he was a faithful devotee. He'd run up and down the hill, chase the cows. I don't know where we got him, but he was a great devotee. And up the top there, see that kit? That was the kirtan in Burleigh Head. So every Sunday, we just take everybody in the bus, and then we go to Burleigh Heads, and we have this. That's Ramai Swami, by the way, leading the kirtan, and then we distribute watermelon in the park of Burleigh Heads. So some things never change, right? So top right-hand one, it's one of our festivals again. The brahmacharis one side, or the men on one side, women on the other. And there'll be a Sunday feast. So we used to get a lot of people come to Sunday feast, a lot of people from Nimbin, whatever, and moving, where else are we? Oh, the bottom left. That's a good one. There we are, there's all the brahmacharis picking something or other. Somebody said that this was staged, but I don't know, I think they were all picking in the garden, so it's all... Tuesday was, a vegetable picking day. It all had to be picked, and then after that we go on Sankirtan or whatever. So, and then we just move over a little bit here, over to this one. So the temple was in the White House there, so you can see that the deities, they were against the window there where they're Gauni-tied deities, and they're the deities that are in Brisbane at the moment. Prabhupada said you make your own deities, so instead of making it out of Nimwood, Bhaskara Ramprashad's brother, Ramprashad's brother, he made the Gaudi-tied deities there, cast them, and they're still being worshipped in Brisbane Temple, but that stage they were the bus deities, so the bus put them there. And there's Sababhi having a big fire sacrifice in that room there, so we were wondering if the room was going to go up or not, but it was full of smoke, certainly there, and there was a kitchen behind there. So on to the next slide. So number 7, which is temple construction. So in 1979, we began to build this temple here. So the idea was that we were going to imitate New Vrindavan. So New Vrindavan was basically the model for us to follow, because they had constructed Prabhupada's palace and they had a very palatial looking ground. So we were following in their, in their footsteps. We had a lot of volunteers here, and we're putting up big poles like we were cutting them from the forest, like what we do now, so more or less the same, the bottom left. So this was designed by one Sri Prahlad Bhaktadas, and all glories to him that this temple 50 years later is still standing strong, even though some of these struts are missing. Just still pretty much together. On the bottom, just moving along the bottom here, so there's some construction there, and that's the sort of ground laying ceremony that we had in 1979. And the bottom right one was the opening of the bridge. Simultaneously, at some point in time, we got permission to construct the bridge across the river. Before that, all the cars used to have to just drive across the river. It was sort of like at this point in time, you know, most of the time the river was at this level, we could get over, but we used to hire the cars. And once I had a conversation with the gentleman who hired the cars out to us in Brisbane, and he was wondering why all his bottom was rusting out, you know. So then he saw it on television about how the hurries of crossing the bridge, crossing the river. They won the bridge, and he put two together. That was his cars that was crossing the river. Orb. Remember Orb, anyone? Oh, he's a great soul. He did a lot for us. You remember Orb Virabhadra, do you? Yeah, Aubrey. So I'm not hiring you guys any more cars. You know, you wrecked my cars. Oh, come on, Orb, just this one. So, all right, you know. So on to the next slide. So here, a little bit more relevant to the day. What have we got? Deity installation. Oh, right, okay. So what year was it? 1979? Must be, right? Yeah. So the whole Melbourne Yatra, the Sydney Yatra come again for that auspicious day where we install Shri Radha-Govardhanadhari. Just a few little general slides here. I think the time sequence might be out a little bit here, but as you can see, the spirit of Prabhupada was there. So many flower garlands, I don't know where the flowers come from. And that was the one inside the temple there. So, see the Hari there. Mahotsa, useful, our acupuncturist in Mawullumba, you might recognise him. That's him in his young body there. Okay, so bridge development, deed installation. Next one, we move on a little bit more. I want to talk about this one, deity mix-up. So when we install the deities, we didn't know this, but Sri Radha-Govardhanadhari, they were actually meant to go to France. But Harry Sori, he was a very, very forceful gentleman. He come from Scunthorpe in England, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So we have the deity wallahs in Rajasthan. Were they in Jaipur, I think? And they were famous for their construction of deities, and all the temples around the world used to ask them to make deities for them. So simultaneously that we asked for our Krishna Balaram deity and our Radha-Govardhanadhari deity and Gaur-Nitai deities from those people, we had a certain date that they had to be finished by, and so Hari Sori goes to Rajasthan on that date, and there's two sets of deities there, and the gentleman there who's making them, the sculptor, said, well, actually they're not for you, they're for someone else. Oh no, we're taking these deities right now. Right? So he procured our Shri Radha-Govardhanadhari deities. Krishna Balaram came later. I was having a conversation with Riti, and we think that they may have come in 1982 or 1983. But Krishna Balaram, 1980. So they came only 1 year later. Okay. Year and a half. And with the installation of Sri Radha-Govardhanadhari, we also had this beautiful gazebo, is it? What do we call it? The gazebo. It's made of marble. How they got it together, I don't know, because it weighed so much. How it actually came to Australia. These days, if you brought something like this to Australia, you'd probably pay a fortune for freight for that alone. And it's pure marble, and it's held together so beautifully. And on either side, there were just some little wrought iron gazebos. We didn't have them. They came later on in in 2000, actually, when Ajit was here. Ajit organised these other ones on the other side. So we got those deities, and it was quite amazing that many, many years later, it so happened that Harry Sori met Sitala, and they actually married, husband and wife. And it was actually Sitala who was organising the Radha Krishna deities for Paris. What's the name? Paris, in New Mayapur, yeah. So the deities in New Mayapur. So they did get their set eventually, maybe a year later, but they were wondering how come their deities were missing in the first place. And then she met Harry Sori and had a chat and said, "It was you. You took our deities." So I just got a few comparisons here. That's a Paris deities over there, and these are our deities over here. So as you can see, there are some similarities. I can just see Krishna's got his head tilted a little bit to one side compared to our deity on the bottom there, our Krishna here. But they're very, very close. So for us who have made that pilgrimage to New Mayapur, we can really identify with the deities. Who's been to New Mayapur? Padma, there's a few of us here. So it's worth going there just for that. So the deity mix-up. So anyway, we worship the deities so nicely here. And of course the objective, I'll finish with this slide. I'm supposed to be giving a talk this afternoon. There is one more slide. Oh, okay, you brought out. That's all I can say. That's all about hearing and chanting, This kind of thing. Can you flick it back there? It's very embarrassing. Right, okay. So the next presentation, I hope in a couple of years, will be about the new temple, because we do have our objectives. It's nearly half past. If you can just bring that other show up, the next one, the next set of, we finished here, the next set of arrival of deities presentation, that one there. So I have another presentation which I'll probably be putting together. Maybe I'll show the old one again, because I don't know. But yeah, we'll just sort of go through really quickly, because we have so many objectives here, like sustainability. Just go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we've only got 2 minutes left. Okay, next one. What are we on to? Yeah, next one. This is about what's happening in the last, 5 or 10 years. So, like, we're 45 years later. We're all here. We have the same objectives. Just keep going forward. Education, our school, it started in 1988. When our school, 1979, right? 1980, there was just like maybe 20 students or something. Now we have 130 students. Just keep the whole, education. So the government has given us so much facility there for our schools. And where are we at? The school, just sort of, it began in 1978, complete education structure. We've got everything from year 1 to year 12. And students come from devoted families in the area, not non-devotees. It's an independent school, government funding for teachers and building expansions. So moving on to the next slide, we have the Krishna village, which is a very important, integral part of our society at the moment. So this was a real sort of breakthrough because in the early days it used to be black and white. You were a devotee or you're not a devotee. You know, if you want to become a devotee, you join the temple, or you're just a fringy. You're a fringy, right? You ever heard that? Or ecstasy crew, all this sort of thing like that, right? So it's clear cut. But as our society expanded and matured, we realised that there's so many different stages of development in the life of a devotee, and Prabhupada always gave us that philosophy of chant Hare Krishna and be happy, but you could chant at home, you could chant wherever you are, and it's not like everyone has the privilege of living in a temple. So when we come to the Prasadam hall now and we see all the people there, we can't say who's a devotee, who's not a devotee, because everybody's a devotee in their own development, right? They're all chanting Sari Ravi very enthusiastically, may I say. They're all eating prasadam and they're all coming to Kirtan, which brings us to the next few slides, Krishna Village, next one. Just a few shots of all the glorious people in the Krishna Village and Kirtans and a spiritual frontier. So we are a spiritual frontier because Srila Prabhupada also began in the early days with just chanting, the process of chanting people were very attracted. So we are finding that also Kirtan is the all-attractive feature for Western people, more so than anything else. So we're doing Kirtan. So that's, as we can see, people like Kirtan. We have Kirtan in so many different ways. We have Sankirtan. There's Vaina-Gopal. We used to say in Lithuanian, Amžinatelis, he's eternal. Our eternal Vaina-Gopal is one of the pioneers of this farming community. And we're just keeping the Kirtans going, and in a few years when we have the anniversary, we hope that sooner or later there'll be a really, really nice temple. This was only meant to be a temporary temple. It is a very nice temple, mind you, but to have that we need, we've gone for infrastructure. So to have a big temple on the farm, I was even thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, even New Vrindavan, who we follow, they have a really beautiful temple for Srila Prabhupada called the Palace of Gold, which was donated by some very rich people in Bombay. They had the money for that, but there's no really big temple in New Vrindavan, is there? Not that I know of, because big temples on the farm are a lot more difficult than big temples in the city. You've got to have the water, you've got to have the electricity, you've got to have the roads, you've got to have the devotees, and you know, you don't have any devotee to do the puja, you call up the devotee from the next town and they all come. So we're setting up the infrastructure here, we're building more houses for devotees to live here, and eventually expand the deity worship. We're developing the infrastructure, and when we're ready to, with Krishna's blessing, then we will start the new temple. But the focus is always on Shravanam Kirtanam. So that is the, we're hearing and chanting, and we're keeping this, this mood on New Govardhana. So other different expansions that are happening. It's always happening here. It's a very exciting place to be. The wellness centre, the village, new kitchen. The new kitchen is coming up soon with Prasadam Hall, Vedic Care Hospice, and a new temple complex by 2030. So just read the last part here. A culture, providing a model of harmony in the community and disseminating Krishna conscious to mainstream population via our visitors, volunteers, and retreat guests who share their experiences on the farm with their associates. A lot of people just come here to just settle, you know, just to recalibrate, because the material world out there is so hard that they want to actually go find out, just, recalibrate, find out what their purpose in this world really, or what they should do next. Participating in community projects such as food distribution to the needy, which is going on really nicely with our food distribution to the Mawulama community. Spreading joys of Kirtan to the wider community. And the last one, what's the last one? Preserving the core values of ISKCON, maintaining Krishna at the centre of our lives, teaching the pure principle of Vaishnavism according to teachings of the Goswamis, strict observance of the regulative principles throughout the whole farming community, and cow protection is core responsibility within our society. Thank you very much. Okay. Jai. Oh, glory, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Daksha. Thank you.